Welcome to Modern Physics Radio, another tentacle of the modern physics machine, which includes Modern Physics Apparel and Modern Journal, a quarterly zine. At Modern Physics Radio, you will hear interviews of people from the worlds of art, photography, music, film, skating, and surfing, as well as other cool shit we think needs to be seen and heard. There may be some surprises along the way, such as special performances and other exclusive content. For our first episode, we were fortunate to get a legend of photography to join us, Magdalena Wosinska. Magda began her photography career in the 90s skate scene and over the years has built a prolific body of work that covers multiple facets of the human condition. In April of this year, she published Fulfill the Dream, a retrospective of her time in the skate scene. I was super stoked to chat with Magda about her career and the many projects she has going on. Hey, where are you?
I'm in Highland Park.
You're in Highland Park?
Yeah, I've been here like 17, 18 years, but it was like Long Beach, then Hollywood, then Echo Park, then Chinatown, and then here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my introduction to California was Long Beach. I was second in Esperanza.
Oh, yeah?
And I was so stoked that I thought I could get in the water. And then I'm like, oh, this is just covered in oil. But we used to always like sneak into the docks and go skate
Oh, yeah.
like in the loading docks and stuff because there was a bunch of cool shit down there. And then go to San Pedro. This was like even before they had the skate park there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The, have you gone to what's that skate park that's underneath the
The
freeway?
bridge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Channel
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah. I went there, but I mean, they built that like way after I moved. But I
Uh,
used to hang with like Dave Lang and a bunch of people there, and Josh Harmony and Austin Stevens, like that whole posse.
uh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's open again. Um,
skate park.
yeah, the skate park.
Oh, I didn't even know it closed.
Yeah, they shut it down for a few years.
Why?
I think because the city was just being kind of lame about it.
I mean, people were going there and getting fucked up. Like every time I went there, it was like a shadier version of Burnside. Like people were just like getting super high and wasted. So it's probably like it wasn't like the skate parks where they're like out in the open and kids are trying to like have a good time skating with their helmet on, you know. It was like people were raging. They'd have like bands play in the middle of the bowl. I was
I
like,
never actually went there. I always wanted to check it out, but
yeah,
yeah,
it's cool.
seemed rad. Seemed really cool. All right. I've got a bunch of questions. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them,
Yeah,
but we'll just kind of see how it goes.
sounds good.
And thanks a lot for doing this. I really, really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course.
All right. Can you describe who you are, what you do, where you're from, and yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Start
I'm
us
from
off there.
I'm from Poland.
Yeah.
I am a photographer. I love human connection. I think that's why I love photography. And who I am changes every day, so I can't really answer that.
Yeah. That actually like kind of gets into a lot of the questions that I have for you because human connection is very much like a through line through your work that I mean from a viewer's perspective that's what comes across really really strong, at least for me, is you just have like a way of it doesn't matter like what level someone is on, like you could be taking pictures of like Joaquin Phoenix or it could be someone in Bakersfield or like a member of the Lakota tribe, like everyone is very much on the same level. And do you feel like that's intentional or it's something that just kind of comes about organically?
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I mean, that is definitely just like how I view the world, like very much so. Everyone, like I look and am honored to take people's photographs. So I think it's like, not that I put people on a pedestal that I'm photographing, but I definitely like respect our exchange and human connection. And I think that's why it feels very like equal
Yeah,
and similar no matter who I photograph, because it's just how I see them.
yeah,
I really want to see people for who they are in their like raw, true form.
yeah. Yeah, like that word pedestal is exactly like what I was thinking of when I was coming up with that question because it's like I don't feel like anyone is put on a pedestal in your work. It is very much like, let's say it's a famous person, you bring that person to your level and it feels very like everyone's on eye level. And
Yeah. It's like we're just hanging out. We're just people.
yeah,
Because we are all just like we're just the same species
yeah,
that exists in this current timeline together.
Yeah.
And like I've used this example a lot, but like if something was to happen and there was an earthquake or a tsunami or a fire, we're all gonna feel the impact in that moment the exact same way while I'm on this photo shoot. And so this is just like showing that everyone's like bodies are gonna react the same to a catastrophe or maybe to something great. So I don't know. That's why people are just always like on the same level as me, because I'm like, if a bomb goes off right now, we're all gonna feel the pain the same way.
Yeah, the humanity.
It's the humanity, totally. And there's like nothing, there's no purpose in thinking people are different just because they accomplished more. Like, just because you're a great actor doesn't mean that you know how to play guitar or fix a car or cook or give good advice to your friends, or you might not know how to take pictures, or you don't know how to do like put together a bouquet the way a florist does, or you wouldn't know how to deal with a person in hospice the way a well-trained nurse does. So we're all totally equal. Just because you're in a movie doesn't make you more special than the hospice nurse.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, when speaking of like Joaquin Phoenix, is that your skateboard that's in some of those shots?
Yeah.
I feel like to me, just looking at it, looking at your those photos, I was like, I'm sure she just gave him her skateboard and said,
Oh, I didn't give it to him. He took it from
"Oh,
me.
oh, did he?"
Yeah, I got out of the car and I started skating alongside of him while he was riding a bike. And he's like, give me that. And he took it. And then I had to chase him down like Warner Brothers lot on a bike. And he was skating and I didn't know if he could skate, you know? And then his publicists were like yelling at me, being like, if he gets hurt, it's your liability. I'm like, it's your talent that just took my skateboard. So I chased him. And then so many people commented, like, can he actually skate? And I'm like, well, yeah, he's doing it. You know what I mean? But it's cool to know that he's like a skater at heart. And also, when I shoot a lot of like celebrity work, they're never bringing props. It's always up to me to make it fun. So I just bring props for myself that I can have fun with.
Yeah,
And then if they're willing to use them, great. And I didn't ever think that I was going to get him on a skateboard. It happened by his own choice. So good thing
yeah,
that the skateboard just happened to be there.
that's so cool. Um, there, you mentioned that like in terms of you're kind of everywhere all the time. Like I even sent you an email yesterday, like, oh, by the way, are you in the same time zone as me? Um, so it feels very much like you have this almost like nomadic lifestyle in a sense, like a gypsy nomad. I mean that in a very positive way. Um, and I think that kind of ties into the question that I have about like, what is the Magdalena experience?
Like the actual series.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
mean, it
what is
was
it
a
kind of what
photo
does it
series.
mean to like have the Magdalena experience?
Yeah, I think I'd rather answer that because the other thing I've answered so many
Yeah,
times
yeah,
that
for sure.
it's just the same. What does it mean? I mean, it changes its meaning a lot as I've gotten older too. I just really was looking into doing this series for my whole life. I started it when I was a teenager, and then, I'm almost 41, so I've been doing it way before Instagram, and it was just like a sense of searching for femininity, and I think it's like a sense of freedom for myself, especially like from the like place I came from. Like I grew up in communist Poland, it wasn't very liberating and free. And I think that's the sense of that freedom. And also, it's fun to travel and always seek out like a space that's symmetrical to take that picture in because I used to do that with skateboarding. It was always like look for the skate spot
Yeah.
to shoot, and now it's like look for the perfect circle of flowers in a meadow or an architectural corner in a building or a perfect waterfall to take this picture in. And it's been going on for over 20 years, this series. So it's been really fun to do it, but it's definitely like a search for my sense of femininity because I grew up in such a male dominated culture and I didn't feel very feminine being a skater in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what was it like being a photographer and skater in the 90s?
Well, there was not even a sense of recognition that I was a photographer that was shooting skating back then. I was always like the shadow of the actual photographer that was shooting the skate stuff. Like, and I just had to tag along. I don't think people took me seriously, but they let me be there. So it was really interesting as I just put out my most recent book, Fulfill the Dream. so many of the skaters that were in that book are like, man, I don't even remember you taking these pictures. And I was like, yeah, because I had to like be a fly on the wall because I wasn't really seen as like an individual artist necessarily. To some people, I might have, but to others, no one took me seriously as a girl because it was all guy skate photographers. Even now, it's like I don't even know if a girl's ever published a book about skateboarding from the 90s, like ever in the history of skateboarding. There's women that shoot skating now, but like I didn't know one girl that was shooting skate photos in 1996. And to get to the spot and get taken seriously was not happening. It's like, yeah, you can come, but Grant Britton or Mike O'Mealy or so and so is going to be there shooting the photos, and you can like go up on the hill and get a different angle. But obviously, it's a small rail and you need a fisheye and you need to be on the bottom. So I just kind of tagged along.
Like kind of like a forced protege.
Well, it was like I tagged along when I could, and then I would always like seek out spots to be like, I got the spot, but you got to let me shoot a photo of you and in it, and then I'll tell you where it is.
Yeah.
And I just kind of tagged along, but it and then eventually I started getting invited and like I had a lot of friends. I don't know if the people took me seriously as a photographer until I like left Arizona when I was 19 and then made a career for myself. And then all those people were like, "Oh, I always knew you were driven and had a lot of shit going on." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, you say that now, but in the moment, like I was just there. I was just there." And then being a skater, I mean, fuck, I know four other girls that skated in Arizona in the 90s. There was way more, but we didn't have the internet, so we didn't know who existed. We didn't. We only knew like the girls that were in skate videos, which was like Alyssa Steamer, or Jamie Reyes. But like I didn't know there was other girls that would skate. And I was like, God, I'm the only person that looks like this at the skate park. And then everyone's staring at me, and it was weird until you see another girl and you're like, oh my God, they exist. It's really cool.
So what do you what is it like now? What is it like now for you? Are you still getting out there and taking photos of skaters? Do you see the climate is different for
Climate is so different. It's so acceptable. It's so woke. It's so inclusive. It's awesome. I love that it's changed. I mean, we used to laugh about skateboarding and being in the Olympics back in the day and think that it's like some sellout shit. And now it is. And everyone skates for Nike. But it's awesome. Like the fact that people can fulfill their dream and make an income being skaters and be athletes. And I love that there's such a new culture in skateboarding where people aren't like getting wasted and partying like we used to when we were like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 at the skate park, just getting so hammered. And it was just like such a drinking culture. And now people are like, dude, fuck that. I don't want to drink. I want to like do push-ups, skate, work out. I'm an athlete. I want to do well. And these are like 20-year-old kids that I'm skating with. I'm just like, this is amazing. Like I'm
so good?
so impressed with the culture, that people aren't just like relying on alcohol and people are more aware about mental health and how skateboarding helps them through that. And people have access to therapy. And again, we didn't have internet back then. Here you can like actually make some decisions of how you can get help through the internet. And then you can use skateboarding as a tool. And people are a lot more open about talking about who they are, where they come from, what sexual preference they have. I mean, remember when like BA came out, like people didn't talk about gay skaters. Like it was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And now it's like I did a documentary like 7 years ago about Cher, who's a trans skater, and it was like totally awesome and normal. And now she has a shoe and skates for Vans. And it's like, I'm so glad it's gone in that direction. And as far as me personally, when I put out that book,
Yeah.
it just came out in April of this year. It was so good for me and so cathartic for me to close that chapter in my life. I would love to shoot like the cover of Thrasher and shoot skate photos here and there, but I'm definitely not trying to go out and shoot skate photos right now because my projects are turning into something different.
Yeah.
But I shot skateboarding for like a decade, took a decade break, shot music, played in a metal band, and then came back to shoot some skateboarding. And now it's different because people take me seriously because I've become a photographer in my own right in a different genre of photography. So if they see photos of Joaquin Phoenix on a skateboard, skaters take me seriously, which is so funny that it had to take that.
Yeah.
But it's like, who knows? It's like that's just how the system works for some people. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, I love skateboarding. It's always a part of my heart. It's my family. It made me who I am. And when I need to be involved in it, I will, but I'm not seeking out to go out of my way to photograph skateboarding as much as I used to. And I'm just happy to like ride the wave of putting this book out and hopefully encouraging and inspiring people to like fulfill their own dreams, you know, because that was my dream, is to be a skate photographer. And then I put this book out so I could be a published skate photographer. And once it's out, like my dream was always to be in Thrasher, and then Thrasher did a 6-page interview.
Yeah,
And then like, and Muska interviewed me, and I was like, okay, I made it. Like I fulfilled the dream. I was in Thrasher. I shot the cover of Solo magazine last year, and I made a skate book. Like that's what it was. But it started at 14, and the journey ended at 40. You know, so it took a long time.
yeah. I mean, you talk a lot of you're talking a lot about just evolving as a photographer, and it's cool that you didn't just stay with one thing. You've done so much. Like if I go on your website,
It's
there's
overwhelming.
everything. It's like it's all over the place, but in a good way. And I don't mean it like it's like schizophrenic in any way. I mean it very much in the sense of just
It's the same style. Like I'm a portrait photographer,
yeah,
and the only thing that changes in front of my lens is my subject. But it's like you can shoot running, beauty, music, skateboarding. You can shoot all these things, but it's still in my style. It's just the way I connect to people. But it is tricky because a lot of times when clients look at my work, they're like, "Well, what does she do?" And I'm like, "I take pictures of human connection." And
yeah,
it's like, why does everyone need to be so specific?
yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Um, Going back to your book, fulfill the dream, right?
Yeah.
Fulfill the
Like the
dream.
shorties video.
Yeah. Um, what was it like making a book?
This is
What was
my
the process like for you?
this is my fourth book.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, so the first book, Bite It, You Scum, I made when I was like 24.
Uh,
Then I made a book called The Experience. Then I made a book called Leftovers of Love that I never published. And then I made this book. And, you know, it's a huge process, but this time it was really awesome because I had a really great publisher, Homecoming Gallery, do the book with me, whereas before I self-published. And then I also had really great designers, the McQueen brothers, George and Tom McQueen, and they designed the book and they just helped me create the entire journey. They helped me find the title. They helped me. I just told them, I was like, I want it to be cinematic. I want it to feel like a movie from front to back. And they just made that happen in 308 pages when I had like 500 pages. And we kind of narrowed it down to the most important words, most important photos. And it's like a journey through a girl's life. So I hope to eventually transform that book into a film.
oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is one of, other than the photography, the design is like pretty cool. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. I'm so grateful to have people at that level be like willing and open to work with me on that. And that was their first book they designed too. And I was like, fuck, you guys killed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Let me look at some of my questions here. Sorry. Oh, you have a you have a bunch of different things that are fantastic on your site. There was one series that you put put out. I think it's called 5 to 8 p.m. in Bakersfield.
Mhm.
I really like that one. That one, I don't know. I think I connected with that one because I've been to that little skate park zone
Mhm.
once before. Um, but something I noticed is just your photographs. It's to me, 5 to 8 p.m. in Bakersfield tells me like that it's a 3 hour window. You were
Mhm.
in Bakersfield, and this is what you captured during that chunk of time. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
snapshot of that moment, right?
Mhm.
It feels very much like you just are connected to everyone in
Mm.
the photos. So I guess the question is, did you have a relationship with all of those people, or did you just kind of like make connections in that time frame? And yeah,
So I've gone to Bakersfield a few times through my friend Sarah, who has like a family based out of there. And I was going originally to make a music video for Jamie Wyatt. And I was like, you know, I don't know who to photograph. I need to find some kids. I'm just going to go to the skate park, or I'm going to go to the skate shop and just wait around for people to come through the door. And sure enough, like the coolest teenagers came through the door. And I was like, hey, can I take your photos? And let's plan a day. Like maybe we shoot tomorrow or next time I come. So that's how it worked out. But I went back a couple times, and like most of the photos that actually are in that series are photos I took between that time frame, 5 to 8 p.m. It was in the middle of summer, it's hot as hell.
yeah,
And I was just going around Bakersfield, looking at different locations and just like walking around and just, you know, there's a guy on a bike in front of a liquor store. There was a bunch of guys outside of like a Honda Accord unloading like a refrigerator. There was some girls playing dominoes in their front yard. And I just would walk up to people and say, "Hey, can I take your photos?" I'm like a photographer. And it was so cool because unlike LA, where people are very territorial, everyone's like, "Yeah, come in, take my picture." Like it's like so, they're so excited about it. And I really want to continue going back to Bakersfield because there's a lot of crazy history there with a lot of different things. But I really want to go back to Bakersfield and start photographing a series more about what's going on there and the little secret stories of it. But it just feels like a lot more what I'm used to from the European culture where people are a little bit more open, like in Poland, and they're like, yeah, take my photo. Like they're honored to get their photo taken. Whereas in LA, it's like inconvenience. Like, why do you want to take my picture? What is it for? And it's just like you lose this like lust for it. And I mean, how else are we going to tell history if we don't capture it in photos? You know what I mean? Like, I love seeing old photos of downtown LA in the 1900s. I'm not going to see that and believe it as well from a drawing when I can just see the old cars and like feel what the sun looks like and how the dust kicks up in the air on a dirt road, you know? And it's like, of course, drawings are amazing. We've had everything in history captured through words and drawings, but when we were able to take photos of it, that's great. So, so cool to be able to take pictures of things that are happening now, but we just don't have a lot of privacy because everyone's got an iPhone, so people are inconvenienced by getting their photo taken. And I still feel like my duty in this world and on this earth is just to document life. So Bakersfield's a good place for that because
Yeah,
people let you. In LA, they're like, oh no, how much are you going to pay me? And I'm like, you should just be flattered that somebody wants to take your photo.
yeah, exactly. No, yeah, I noticed like getting out of the city is always better for just like a lot of things, just human connection in general. I mean, even here in Long Beach, where I think it's, a subdued version of LA, you still get that same like just kind of rudeness, I guess, for lack of a
Totally.
better way of
Yeah.
describing it. But so your career kind of feels like it's also your life. And so I'm just kind of curious, like, does that blurring ever pose a challenge for
No, it's like I'm so grateful I get to do this for a living.
you?
I think the challenge is, the inconsistency of work, like
Right.
being on top of your game, trying to make sure that people know you exist, relevance. It's like you can't really just disappear, or maybe you can, but I also like am addicted to taking pictures. I love them. And all the photos I take on my personal travels are the photos that I always get asked about to shoot for ad jobs. But I've never had like a big challenge with it because it's just like it's like my life. And I remember assisting photographers when I first came to LA, and so many photographers wouldn't shoot personal work outside of work. They would just be photographers and go to work and only shoot the job that the client pays for. And I was like, that's so fucking weird because for me, I'm like, I take my cameras with me every day. I take pictures every time I leave the house if it's interesting enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you just get film back all the time, and you're just always just, I live my life through pictures, and then I book work, and then I give clients a lot of photos. So I'm very grateful for being able to see the world through through a lens that's imprinting a negative. I mean, that's so fucking cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
As a viewer of your life, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
um, so what do you typically have in your camera bag? Like what do you do? What is like your go-to?
Context T3, always, every day,
Yeah.
and Portra 400. I mean, that's all I use for like the last 2 decades.
Okay, right on. What else do I have for you? Um, Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Just a few hours ago, you posted something on Instagram. It's like some pictures, I think, from Mexico,
Hmm.
from like 2016.
Hmm.
And you mentioned a couple of photographers, Helmut Newton and Slim Aarons.
Hmm.
And I was just curious, who else are people that you maybe try to emulate or are inspired by?
Well, it's really funny that I actually mentioned that because after I took the photos and 8 years later, when I looked at them in my archive, I was like, oh, this looks like a Helmut Newton moment and this looks like a Slim Aarons moment. But that never happened in the making of, in the inspiration of, or in doing the photo. the photos just come because I just follow the light and it's like who I'm with. So I know this is a weird thing, but I've never had people that I looked up to or was inspired by in photography because I was afraid that I would copy them.
Hmm.
And only now that I'm much older and have established a very specific style will I say, oh, I love certain people's work, but they don't look, it doesn't look like my work. You know what I mean? Like I like how clever they are and how they photograph things, but I never really looked at other people's work. I always just looked at what was outside. Just go outside,
That's
hang out,
awesome.
travel, get inspired. And it wasn't even that like necessarily fear-based about copying someone. I just wanted to be creating something through my own perspective, how my heart felt about something.
Right on. Like I was saying earlier, you have a lot of cool series. Like anyone can go take a look at your website and just see all the cool stuff you've got. Do you have any, like, what are your top three series that you uh, would recommend people check out?
My number one is the work I've done with my mom, but it's not on the website really because I'm working on a book and a film about that. So that's going to be more accessible to the public in the next year or two when I finish that. But that's definitely been one of the most important series I've done. And another one I'm doing now is on my dad because my mom passed away 3 years ago. So now my dad's like my muse as well. And that's not up on the website either because that's a work in progress. But
Sure.
besides that, like I really enjoy photographing like subcultures and youth and I still feel like I'm 14 sometimes and I'm working through a lot of stuff that happened as a teenager to create who I am now. So I really connect to the youth and I mean, God, there's so much to learn from them right now with technology and stuff like that. But I had like a really strong connection to a lot of the Lakota kids, you know, and that series, I would love to go back and continue doing some work with them. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just been I'm always excited about new stuff, so I don't have a favorite besides the one of like my immediate family because I'm learning a lot about myself and our kind of like generational trauma
Yeah,
and like our connection through taking those pictures. Because, you know, my dad's still around, so I can still ask questions that I never got to ask my mom. And I asked my mom everything I could possibly ask while she was still alive. But, you know, I matured into different phases of my life where I didn't even know what to ask at certain times. And now I get to do that with my dad.
that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
pretty.
and it's heavy and it's hard, but it's cool that you can learn about like your emotional journey and how you walk through this world because of your art, because you're curious enough to do so.
Yeah, and then to me, like the the series that you worked on, that you did with your mom is just so incredibly brave to put yourself out there and to do something like that.
Thank you.
I don't think I could do something like that. Like it's just you're really confronting a lot of things, mortality, your relationship with your parents.
But what part would you not be able to do? Show it to the world or actually do the act of being there?
I think being there. I think that it probably speaks more to my relationship with my parents than it
Totally.
does
Yeah.
anything else.
But it's
But
interesting because a lot of people would say, I don't know if I could do that. And obviously, it depends on their relationship with their parents. But if you're close with a parent, kind of do anything. The way that our parents, when we were kids, they're going to do anything. Like if they want to keep us safe,
yeah,
you know, but again, depends on how we had a relationship with them. Some people have a shitty relationship and they're like, yeah, mom, well, sucks to be you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But it's like I wasn't close with her or as close as I was until she was dying because she finally was like vulnerable, not controlling, open. She allowed me to like have a big presence in her life and help her through it. So we were more equals towards the end of her life.
that's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
then you just touched on it with your question was the bravery of putting it out to the world. It's like that's
See,
this pretty thing.
that for me isn't, it's funny because that for me isn't bravery because I'm a storyteller, so I show everything, literally everything. And also, I, in that time, needed support because I wasn't getting it from my internal sources, you know. I was having a really hard time in my life then, and I wasn't getting the support I needed from my immediate family because we weren't close at the time. So when I put it out there, it was like therapy for me. It was so cathartic. And I had mostly strangers reach out with similar stories, and that held me and like allowed me to survive like one of the hardest periods of my life. So I like want to thank everybody that was involved in that healing process for me, everyone that reached out and like sent their condolences or told me about their story and their own connection with their own relationship with death, because I wouldn't have been able to like get through it without that, you know?
Right. Wow.
So I feel very lucky.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's,
Yeah.
and I didn't even think about it in those terms. It's just
Mhm.
once you put something out there, people probably started reaching out and sharing their own experiences. And like you probably felt like a sense of community there too.
Oh, fully community, and it was all strangers. It was amazing. I was like, wow, how did I deserve this? Like, people are so fucking cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, the Zoom's going to kick us out in about 7 minutes, but I want to find out what do you mentioned that you're working on a book and hopefully a movie about that series with your mom. Uh,
Yeah.
you've got you've got so many projects. You've got the project that you're working on with your dad. You
Yeah.
try to make Fulfill the Dream into a movie.
Yeah.
What else are you working on?
I mean, those are just like, all different timelines. The most immediate one will be the book about my mom. And then I started a punk band last year.
Oh yeah.
So we're playing our like first official show at the Regent November 2nd with Pretty Girls Make Graves. Our
Oh
band's
no
called
way.
Big Corpse. Yeah, it's like a rudimentary Peanut meets Black Flag, but it was fun to start. It's three girls and a guy drummer. And that was something that I really wanted to do, is play music again, because I used to play music like 10, 15 years ago. So I'm trying to remember how to play guitar.
What's the
And
name of the band again? Sorry.
it's called Cig Corpse, like cigarette corpse. It was kind of like a joke, and then it turned into like a fun project. And we made a record. We recorded at the Foo Fighters studio at 606, like everything on 2-inch tape, and recorded 10 songs in 3 days. So we're slowly releasing those songs, which is cool. But yeah, I mean, besides all those projects, like I'm just working on myself.
Oh, we
Work
all.
project. And and I'm just taking like sometimes I get really motivated, and sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna have a summer and like go to the beach and like go swim in the ocean and go surf a little every once in a while and like take it easy and like go see friends and just like I'm working on like being present.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the beauty of what you do as a career and when it's so intertwined with your life. It's like maybe I can take a break right now and give myself a little
Totally.
bit of a break.
Yeah, totally. And it's like my life is a break because work is inconsistent, obviously, but you're always like hustling. And right now I'm just kind of like, let me just ride the wave of this book. It's nice to like be able to be proud of yourself, because I'm super hard on myself. So I never get to sit back and be like, oh, you accomplished something really amazing. Just let it sink in this year. You don't have to hustle to the next thing yet,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Allow yourself, give yourself the permission to just chill.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fortunate in I'm a middle school science teacher, and so uh, I'm on my break. I'm trying to take advantage of it right now.
Good, as you should. We have this really crazy idea in America where it's like work hard to sleep, and it's like everyone in Europe is on holiday for like 2 months.
Right.
You can't go anywhere right now. People are just like, I'm gone. My store is closed. Don't call me.
Oh yeah. Um, I think that kind of wraps it up in terms of the interview questions. I really, really appreciate you taking some time for.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.